Queensland Storyteller, I'm Kim Dodsworth. Today, two contributions from local writer Liam O'Reilly. They're not strictly short stories, but simply good writing. And good writing, we maintain, is always worth sharing. Story one is called Backyard Olympics, and it tells how Liam converted his backyard into a paradise for feathered friends. You too can do it. Listen and find out how. Story 2, Longreach, is set in Longreach, Queensland, of course. The story augments those certainties of life, death and taxation by a third one. Flies. Story 1, Backyard Olympics. We've seldom been without a companion from the animal world. Our faithful dog Socks gave us 17 to 18 years of loyal service, while Tootsie, Socks's feline friend, wandered around 3 of our successive residences for some 14 to 15 years. It was a shock then to have an empty house, an empty garden, when both passed on fairly recently. We couldn't bring ourselves to replace them. For a while we enjoyed the antics of a family of water dragons as they frolicked and played in the somewhat bushy environment. However, new neighbours and new cleared gardens left them with much reduced habitat. We now see them only on rare occasions. Sitting on the back veranda, we began to notice the bird life in the area. A large coral tree right at the back of our garden was the focus of much noisy attention from a flock of lorikeets. But when the flowering season ended, our lorikeets drifted away. So we bought some wild bird seed to hang from the lower branches of the tree and also set up a small bird bath in the garden. Soon the birds began to return, and the message seemed to get around that a safe haven and a restaurant existed at the back of our place. We now play host to lorikeets, butcherbirds, rosellas, pigeons, kookaburras, noisy miners, willy wagtails, and, of course, the lords of the manor, the magpies. Most of them seldom fail to make a daily visit and are a source of education and endless fascination. Our local butcher sells bird mince, so we have a varied menu of seeds and meat to suit all tastes. The magpies wander in daily for a feed and a chat. They hop around the table on the patio, eating from their plate or just sitting around and chattering. There's a regular family of about 5 to 7 of them. The mothers feed their demanding babies, for a while that is, until they ignore them and leave them to fend for themselves. We have names for some of them. The leader of the pack has a broken beak, so he, or maybe she, is half-beak. He overcomes his handicap by side-swiping his food, but it's much easier for him to take the meat directly from our hands, and he's not shy to do this. He approaches us with great confidence. If we're in the house, he'll call us out, demand his food, stand at the door while we get it, and hop around our feet while being fed. The Lone Ranger is a young magpie that appears on his own without any companions. He's a quiet and gentle creature that seems to like a snack at any time of the day. Dennis the Menace, who is probably a Denise, is a butcher bird on a mission. He waits patiently on a branch or on the clothesline until the coast is clear, then swoops down, has a feed of meat, and then grabs the biggest piece to take away to his food store. He doesn't mess around. Sometimes he brings some screeching babies with him to enjoy the food. The lorikeets and rosellas work ceaselessly on the seed ring, occasionally stopping for a drink or a bath in the water, while the pigeons are content to take the seeds dropped on the grass from above. The noisy miners concentrate wholly on the water bath. Usually at around 3 p.m. to 4 p.m, a group of 8 to 12 of them will arrive for a swim. They dive in and out of the water with great abandon, chattering and shouting all the time. They have great fun and are a joy to watch. The magpies at times do the same thing, but are clumsy and funnier and not as economic with the water. A couple of kookaburras arrive either for breakfast or supper. They sit majestically on the clothesline until we notice them and bring out the meat. They then eat their meal either on the grass or on the table, and will sometimes wait until we hand it to them on the clothesline. The other birds object to their presence and try to get rid of them, but nothing disrupts their majesties. As I sat in our bird sanctuary one afternoon, I thought of our back garden as a sort of Olympic village. The noisy miners are certainly the swimming and diving teams. They have daily intensive practice sessions at least once a day and sometimes twice. The lorikeets are, of course, the gymnastic team. They swing from the seed ring in every position, mostly upside down, and are very acrobatic, twisting and turning to get the best vantage point. The rosellas, who are always in pairs, are just as acrobatic but more colourful. They are definitely a part of the team. The magpies are a bit like the security guards. They strut around, keeping an eye on things and pulling into line any offender who may get out of hand. The butcher birds are the caterers, always concerned about provisions and making sure the store is well stocked. The pigeons are the contract cleaners, mopping up the bits and pieces on the ground after the teams have had their practice sessions. And what about the kookaburras? I see them as the Olympic Committee, somewhat aloof, but in command. They're standing by to give the opening and closing speeches and are sure to raise a laugh or two. We're privileged to have these wild creatures come to visit each day. As time passes, they seem to sense that there's no danger from us, and they become more confident and at home. They give us a lot of joy and are welcome visitors. Story 2. Longreach. The temperature is 38 degrees. The locals think this is okay. After all, it is springtime and there's still summer to look forward to. The flies are a nasty lot out here. They're only baby flies, but already they have acquired all the skills necessary to carry out their purpose in life, to harass humans and make them understand that this is no place for them. Their numbers are such that I truly expect to see them lifting and carrying off any one of us to their nearest human dumping ground, wherever that is. We board the bus, and our jolly driver, Jack, impresses on us the importance of drinking water throughout the day. No matter what sickness we might end up with, it will be traced back to one thing: dehydration. It occurs to me that doctors must have an easy life out here. No need for multiple tests or complicated diagnoses, just a prescription for a bottle of water with 5 repeats and a see you in a fortnight. Jack is a mine of information about the plants and bushes and small trees that dot the landscape. What plants? If anyone had asked me, I would have said that nothing grows here. It's just a dust bowl with a few dead bushes here and there. But I'm wrong. Jack marvels at the array of plants he recognises and even stops the bus to reach out and grab a sample or two of X or Y in flower, something he hasn't seen for a few years. I secretly make a note to see the eye specialist when I get home. I seem to be missing so much. After 40 to 45 minutes of non-stop talk, Jack slips a tape onto the tape deck up front. Would you believe it's Hal Roach, the Irish comedian? I wonder if Hal ever imagined himself entertaining a busload of Aussie fly swatters way out in an environment so different from his live performance concert hall. Some of his jokes miss the mark, but they weren't meant for situations like this. As the light starts to fade, Jack introduces us to the Thompson River. It's a kind of immovable river. The water's not flowing anywhere, more like a large waterhole. We're told that it's the cleanest river in Australia, an impressive piece of information until Jack explains it's Thomson, no P in it. Ha ha! How many have heard this before? We board a small launch for an evening dinner cruise. As the sun disappears in the west, a hearty meal is served. The flies miraculously depart, but are replaced by an equal number of aggressive moths. Harry is unlucky. He's sitting directly under one of the few lights in the cabin. The moths can't decide whether they like Harry or his piece of steak. They attack both with gusto. Harry's arms are frailing round and round, and he soon builds up a beautiful rhythm. Left arm, right arm, both arms over the head, pause, brush quickly a piece of steak into the mouth, resume, left arm, right arm, etc., etc. It's beautiful to watch. Harry is now wound up and has full control of the situation. Tchaikovsky could work this into a ballet. On the way back from dinner, Harry is again sitting under a light in the bus and continues the arm exercises that he has honed to perfection. We see him finally making his way to his room, his arms still waving, and his wife trying to tell him that both the flies and the moths are no longer a menace. Next morning, we're up early to make a visit to the local cattle sales, among other things. This is an impressive setup, and the auctions proceed like clockwork, with cattle being counted, bargained for, branded and weighed. More flies. We notice that Harry has not lost any of his fine-tuned rhythm from last night. Half an hour later, the flies are the least of Harry's worries. He's now wondering what he's going to do with the herd of cattle he's just bought at $1.85 a kilo. No room in the bus, no room in the train. How will he get them back to Victoria? We spend the next hour and a half standing by as Harry explains his dreadful mistake and makes numerous promises never to wave at another fly. Longreach has many impressive and educational attractions. The Stockman's Hall of Fame, the School of the Air for Outback Children, the International Agricultural College, the Qantas Museum, and the Waltzing Matilda Centre a bit further afield, to name a few. But the more lasting memories are of the stark, harsh, dry-as-a-bone landscape and the tough, friendly, special breed of people. And, of course, the baby flies.